Hi, this is Chapter 3, and it's going to be general management ideas. And the big thing here is we are heading towards a Gantt diagram. Now, although we're going to do a restricted one, this is based on the idea that we're going to schedule tasks and we're going to create a multi-person machine schedule. Now, there's a couple of assumptions, and these assumptions are fairly important. So the first one is any person machine can work on any job. Now, that is not the case in real life so much, and that's why a lot of Gantt diagrams are much, much harder than what we're going to be working on here, where they have limited people. Electricians can only do electrician jobs, etc. But it's a beginning of an algorithm that's very powerful. Second, no task is divisible. One person per task. So you can't assign 3 people to pour cement, unfortunately, but it still is going to be very instructive. If you learn a more complicated scheduling algorithm later, this is one of the first things that they do to change production time. The third time is no one machine idles unless forced. Pretty important. You can't work unless you have a job, but once you have a job, you're going to work. In addition, nothing breaks. So there's no downtime caused by a broken device. Last but not least is that there exists a priority list. This is a decision maker. What a priority list does is that if you have a tie where you have 2 jobs you want to hand out, or 3 jobs and 2 people, the priority list not only helps you, makes that decision for you. So you do not have to make these types of decisions without any other exterior information. It's given to you. So these are the 4 basic assumptions, but there's more that we're going to add to it. The first important assumption is that we have a digraph that represents dependencies. So when we do the following, this very clearly indicates that we have a task 1, which will run for 3 time units, must be completed before task 2 can even start. And therefore, right now, without more to this graph, there's a critical path of at least 7, which means if there's much more to this process, already you know it's going to take at least 7 hours to complete. So now I'm going to run this algorithm for you. It's best a lot of times to see a complicated thing run. I'm going to talk my way through what I'm doing each time, but I want you to see how this process works. So first, I'm going to create a couple of tasks. And so this is going to be our job, and this is what we want to complete. Now, in advance, rather than wondering of how many people we're going to assign, I'm going to arbitrarily declare that person 1 and person 2 are going to work on this. So I begin making a schedule. I put time equals 0 here. And this little marker here says this is where I'm at. I'm also going to give you a priority list. It is usually labeled with a PL. And my priority list is just simply going to list tasks in some order which is not relevant at all to the discussion, because our assumption is you have to be given some priority to these tasks. So here I've given it to you, and it's simply even tasks are somehow more important than odds, and lower odds are more important than higher odds, and lower evens are more important than higher evens. Now, the next thing I'm going to create on a regular basis is called an available list. And an available list takes place at a specific time. So right now, at time equals 0, I want to look at this picture and ask which jobs have no arrows coming to them. So I'm going to write them down. T1, T2, T3, T4, and T6. These are 5 tasks or jobs available at time equals 0. And this is where we're starting. I have 2 people waiting to work, and they chomping at the bit. They want to work. So, amongst 5 tasks and 2 people, I need to make a decision. But that's where I go to the priority list. These are the only things that can be assigned, and the most important job is T2. It's in my list, so I'm going to assign it. Now, every time we assign a job, we know how long it's going to run for, so I know at 3 o'clock that task is going to finish. Now I'm going to cross it off my available list and cross it off my priority list because I've assigned it. And now I'm going to look at my available list again, and amongst 1, 3, 4, and 6, 4. Luckily, right in the front, it's available. So I'm going to stick it in there. Cross it out, and observe that T4 is going to run for 4 hours. So I've just assigned those tasks. Now, because I want to be administratively wise and keep track of things, I'm going to circle T2 and T4 to keep track that they're assigned. So I've circled the assigned ones. So at time equals 0, I have found my available jobs, used my priority list to assign my workers, got them working. Now, one of the focuses here is that I'm like a lazy manager. What am I going to do now that I've done this? Well, I'm going to fall asleep and take a 3-hour nap. And at 3 o'clock, person 2 is going to wake me up. So now I'm going to move my time marker forward. And what just happened is that T2 finished, so I cross it out. Now, T4 is being worked on by person 2. So how many people do I have available right now? Right now at 3 o'clock, I have only 1 person available. But at 3 o'clock, I've got to remember to update my available list. Did any new jobs become available? Well, the answer is no, because when I crossed out T2, no arrow went away. There's still T1 available, listed, T3 available, listed. T4 is being worked on, so it's not available. T5 is not available because 4 is not done. T6 is available. 7 and 8 are not available because T6 is not done. So nothing happened at time equals 3 other than person 2 finished and said, hey, give me a job. That's okay. I have 3 jobs available at time equals 3, 1 person waiting, so I have to use the priority list to decide. Well, once again, I've got 1, 3, and 6 available. Oh, lo and behold, 6 is a really important job. We're kind of lucky it's at the front. Let's cross that out. And we're going to put in T6. Now, T6 is going to run for 2 hours, so I need to know that because I'm going to assign it. And 2 plus 3 means it'll go out to 5 o'clock. So I've assigned T6. I'm going to cross it out. It's crossed out from the available list. It's crossed out from the priority list. I updated my digraph. Boss gets to take a nap. Sleeps, and at 4 o'clock, person 2 wakes him up. Says, boss, I want a job. So at time equals 4, when I get woken up, I ask, oh, anything interesting happened? Well, yes, something interesting has happened. T4 just finished. And that means the dependency has gone away. So at t equals 4, we still have T1 available, T3 available, T6 being worked on, but T5 just became available because no arrows coming to it. T4 is completed. So, one person at time equals 4, and 1, 2, 3 jobs, I have to use my priority list. Now, this is the first time my priority list is not going to use one of the front ends. It can't. T8 is not available. So now, amongst 1, 3, and 5, which is the most important? T1 is the most important. So we're going to put it in. Now, how long does T1 run for? Well, it's going to be a 2-hour job, starts at 4. It's going to end at 6 o'clock. So, crossed out T1, crossed out T1, updated my digraph, put my end time in. Boss is ready to take a nap. Boss takes a nap for 1 hour. What's the time that comes after 4? Why, it's 5. Now, if that had been a 7 and an 8, we would have gotten a 3-hour nap. You move the time marker to the next stoppage time. Now, at t equals 5, P1 wakes us up. Whoa! Now, P1 woke us up because he finished T6. So we're going to cross that out. Now, at time equals 5, T6 just finished. That means these 2 arrows also went away. So at t equals 5, there are 2 new available tasks, T7 and T8. Available, 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 available. Why, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 available tasks. One person at 5 o'clock is waiting for a job. So, amongst 3, 5, 7, and 8, what does this say is the most important? T8 is the most important, so I'm going to assign it. T8 is going to be dropped in for 3 hours. 3 hours plus 5 will make 8 o'clock. I updated my available list. I updated my priority list. I updated my digraph. Time for the boss to take a nap. So, time marker moves forward to 6 o'clock. Why? Because that's when P2 finishes. Now, when P2 finishes at 6 o'clock, the natural question we want to ask is, what just happened? Well, he finished at 6 o'clock task 1. So we go up there and we cross out task 1. Are there any new available jobs? No. T3 still listed. T5 still listed. T7 still listed. T8's running. There's only 3 jobs waiting. Which one do we pick? Well, 1 person waiting, 3 jobs, priority list tells us what to do. And the list says between 3, 5, and 7, we pick 3. So we're going to drop in T3 here, which is going to run for 3 hours, which will finish at 9. Cross that out because it's assigned. Go over here and circle it because it's assigned. Available list updated, priority list updated, digraph updated, end of times all put in there right. Time for the boss to take a nap. Now this time the boss gets to take a little bit longer nap, from 6 to 8 o'clock. Again, he gets to sleep until someone wakes him up. So at 8 o'clock, who wakes him up? Person 1. He said, boss, I just finished T8. He goes, good. Crosses it out. And he looks, any new available jobs? Nope. Which jobs does he have available now? Well, only 5 and 7, because T3 has been assigned. 5 and 7 are available. How does he make a decision? He goes to the priority list. 5 is more important than 7. So he puts in T5 for 5 hours. 8 plus 5 goes out to 13. Circle it because it's assigned. Crossed out, crossed out, crossed out, and assigned. Boss gets to take a nap. Boss takes a nap. It's woken up at 9 o'clock by person 2. Person 2 goes, "Boss, I finished T3." He goes, "Great." Looks at the schedule, says, "Oh, nothing new available at time equals 9, but I've got jobs T7. Well, there is no other jobs. It's just T7. He doesn't have to look at the priority list. When he has no choice, he just assigns one job, one available person. One available job, one person, plug it. There have been 2 available jobs and 2 people, plug them in. So he goes, "Oh, I've got T7, runs for 8. 9 and 8, 17. So, cross out T7, cross out T7, circle T7. End of time's placed there. Boss takes a nap till 13 o'clock. 13 o'clock, boss wakes up. P1 goes, "Boss, I'm done." Boss goes, "Oh, interesting. I'm going to use a different color here now." When he crosses out T5, he sees all the jobs have been completed. He sees T7 is running. He's got nothing to do at 13 here, but he's got also nothing to assign. Because it's a machine or a person on the job and he can't send them home early, this person officially gets what's called idle time. Big X goes through there. And now, at 17 o'clock, this one will finish, and our job will be complete. So there's our schedule. Now the name of this schedule is the list processing algorithm. The list processing algorithm always starts with a digraph, a priority list, and someone, perhaps you, has picked the number of machines. Your job is to always add and delete from your available list, always delete from your priority list, always update the digraph and repeat this. Now, when we complete a schedule, we will ask, well, is that a good schedule? Well, first off, person 1 has 4 hours downtime or idle time. So I don't think any boss really likes idle time, does he? Second, if we had looked at this digraph before we started the problem, we would have seen there's a 5, here's a 10, here's a 9, 3, 3, and 2. Well, the 10 is the longest path through here, so T6 followed by T7. That is the critical path, which says the earliest completion time is 10 hours. Well, we didn't hit that either. I have 2 reasons to say I don't think I like this schedule. I didn't hit the earliest completion time, and I have idle workers. It doesn't mean at this moment that this is not the best you could do with 2 people. But it's probably the case that if I throw 3 people, it would do better. So let's summarize the list processing algorithm. I like to call this the 0th step. Get your digraph. Because you can't do anything with it. And get your priority list. And it's usually given. But we're going to learn to do it without a priority list, and you'll make it. Now, once that's done, the first thing you do is you create an available list. How do you do that? By checking what doesn't have an arrow coming to it. Then the next thing you do is set your time marker. Set your time marker at t equals 0. And now you ask, who wants a job? Now, the answer to that is if you have fewer jobs than workers at that time, assign them all. Or equal. So if one person's available and one job's available, you just assign it. More jobs than workers, use the priority list to decide. Now, once the jobs are put in place, you do n times, you update the available list, the priority list, and the digraph to keep track of what's been assigned. Now, here's the cool thing. That's the complete argument. So now comes a nap until a person or machine completes something. And then you get to update your digraph again, create your available list, but this time you're going to set your time marker at the new time, which equals what time is it? In other words, that schedule that you had told you when he finished. And now you continue this over and over again. I know it looks long, but the idea is pretty straightforward. Now, I want to point out that this algorithm is greedy. A couple reasons. The boss gets to take naps. Second, never wants the people to be idle. Third, as soon as a job is available, it's put on an available list and tried to be dispensed by the priority. The algorithm itself is trying to achieve something, usually shortest time. Hence, it's a greedy algorithm. It also appears to be global because it's trying to use all of the information. Did it use it well? Well, we're going to actually discover that, or if not. All right, let's finish it right there, and I'll post this video.